telling y'all, street got no guards. Guards is not looking out the street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail. That took I knew he was going. I kept away.
Things this case has stopped me from doing, traveling all across the world, making. So I just want to get it over with, and, you know, accept my guilty plea. I'm ready to get over it.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Just say a prayer for me. I just need prayer.
Boosie Badass might be staring down a heavy 10-year sentence in his federal case. And guess who couldn't wait to jump in the spotlight and clown him? Charleston White. The second Boosie's legal drama hit the blogs. Charleston was live like it was his own holiday. Big grin, wild talk, acting like he hit the jackpot. He even bragged that he knew this day was coming and had been waiting for it with a smile. Then he pushed it further, saying it wouldn't bother him one bit if Boosie never saw the outside again. Meanwhile, Boosie had already admitted to fans that he was tired of it all. Earlier this month, he said he took a plea deal not because he was guilty, but because fighting the case was draining his spirit. In Boosie's eyes, giving in was the only option left, especially since the same case had already been dismissed once before. But the system didn't stop. Prosecutors came back harder in 2024, determined to lock him down, and now that plea might cost him an entire decade. While Boosie's been on social media posting heartfelt prayers, talking about leaning on faith and how the weight of life's been crushing him, Charleston's online acting like he just won a trophy. He's calling it a victory, cracking jokes, and turning Boosie's pain into his own entertainment show. For those who don't know, Boosie's been tangled up in legal trouble for years. But this one right here, this is the case that really has him stuck. It all started when he was arrested with a weapon he wasn't supposed to have. That kind of charge doesn't just fade away, especially when it's federal. At first, it looked like Boosie might actually beat the storm. When the case got tossed out in 2023,
Charleston White was celebrating you taking the plea deal. I think he even said he hopes you die in jail and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard.
The biggest thing right now was that you actually accepted a plea deal for your federal gun case.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been fighting this thing from the very, very beginning?
I've been fighting for probably 3 years.
3 years.
fans celebrated like their guy was finally free. But the win didn't last long, because prosecutors circled right back and made sure the fight wasn't over. Folks really thought Boosie was about to shift gears, focus on his music, his family, and finally just live life. But the feds clearly had other plans. In 2024, they circled right back and hit him with a new indictment for the same exact charge. Like they were saying, "Nice try, but we're not finished with you yet." That's when reality hit Boosie head-on. He broke the news himself on X, writing, "I thought this case was over and I was going to get on with my life, but God don't make mistakes and I'm tired of fighting." And just like that, he signed a plea deal. But this wasn't just another legal battle for him. This one felt different. It was like the weight of everything he'd been dodging finally slammed down on his chest. Years of stress, pressure, courtroom back and forth. It all crashed into one breaking point. And you could hear it in his tone. The internet lit up with love and prayers from fans who'd been riding with him since day one. But even with all that support, Boosie sounded changed. This wasn't the same wild, trolling Boosie who always clapped back at critics. This was a man worn down to the core.
Oh, God, it's good. I keep telling y'all, street got no guards. Guards is not looking out the street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail. That's good. I knew he was.
His words carried faith, but also that quiet heartbreak you can't shake, the kind you hear when someone knows something's slipping away and there's no way to stop it. It was raw, unfiltered, and real, and people who followed him from way back could see it clear as day. Boosie's whole life has been a run of close calls. From Baton Rouge street drama to non-stop court battles to major hellscares, he's been slipping past trouble like it's chasing him around every corner. But this time, it hits different. A possible 10-year sentence is staring him down, and that's not some slap on the wrist. That's life-altering. Every word Boosie dropped online carried that weight. You could feel it in your chest reading it. He wasn't just posting, he was almost pleading with the universe to see what is carrying. Meanwhile, Charleston White was on a completely opposite wave. The man was grinning like he hit the jackpot. He hopped on livestream, full of energy, practically bragging that he called this outcome from the start. According to him, He knew Boosie wasn't walking away clean. And now that it looks serious, Charleston's acting like it's party time. But he didn't stop there. He pushed it further, saying out-of-pocket stuff about Boosie's future behind bars. Reckless lines so wild that even some of his own supporters were taken aback. Like, wait, did he really just say that?
That's picked it up.
Now, it was a state case. The feds came, picked it up. They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor. And the case got dropped by the judge. The case got dropped.
But that's Charleston White in a nutshell. His whole brand is being the loudest, wildest troll in the culture. And the coldest part? While Boosie was probably still sitting in silence, trying to process how heavy this hit really is, Charleston had already flipped it into viral content. That timing was brutal. And honestly, when it comes to Boosie, this doesn't even feel like trolling anymore. It feels personal. Every time Boosie trips up, Charleston White pops out like clockwork, MIC in hand, laughing like he's been waiting for this exact moment. At this point, people can't help but ask, why? Why does Charleston go this hard, this consistently, whenever Boosie stumbles? Because it's bigger than random trolling. This is history. This is real tension. The whole mess really sparked in late 2022, right when Kanye West sent the culture into chaos with that infamous White Lives Matter shirt. Boosie wasn't about to let that slide. He called Kanye out directly, saying it was flat-out disrespect to the black community. And honestly, a lot of folks had Boosie's back on that one. But Charleston White, he saw his opening. He hopped online and unloaded on Boosie.
He brought you up because you were attacking Kanye because of the...
Nah, it's Kanye West, it just happened. Nigga been coming at me. He been coming at me, it's just, I can't respond to those people, bro. Like, that's a danger to what I got going on. Can't take no risk of losing this shit behind me.
Claiming he had no business speaking on Ye in the first place. That's when things flipped from regular back and forth into straight foul territory. Because instead of keeping it grown man to grown man, Charleston went for the low blow. He dragged Boosie's son, Tyrell, right into the crossfire. And he didn't stop there. He threw T's son, King Harris, into the mix, too. Charleston clowned their looks, mocked their toughness, and even made disgusting predictions about how their futures would play out. It wasn't jokes. It wasn't funny. It was mean-spirited and reckless. That's the moment this went from internet beef to something that felt way deeper, way uglier. Want me to push this next part into how T.I. and Boosie reacted, and how it set the stage for Charleston doubling down instead of backing off. It got messy. Real messy. That's when people started to realize Charleston wasn't just doing some internet character routine. Nah, he was going for the jugular, no matter how foul he had to get. And dragging kids into it, that's a whole new low. But the twist that shocked everyone, Boosie didn't blow up. He didn't match Charleston's energy. Instead, he stayed calm, cool, and calculated. In his sit-down with Tony the Closer, Boosie broke it all down.
I wasn't going to go to trial with it from the dump, actually, but I feel like this the right move for me. I trust in God.
He said plain and simple, reacting the wrong way could ruin him, especially with kids involved. He knew the system was already watching him like a hawk, waiting for him to slip. One wrong move, one hot-headed reaction, and he'd be right back in legal hell. So instead of snapping like people expected, Boosie played it smart. He didn't take the bait. And in that interview, he made it clear he wasn't scared of Charleston, not for a second. But he understood Charleston's whole playbook was about trap setting. Poke, poke, poke until Boosie says the wrong thing. And once he does, boom, headlines, police, another case. So Boosie did the one thing Charleston didn't expect. He chilled. He held his tongue. On the surface, he was calm. But inside, that fire was still raging. By early 2023, though, this wasn't just petty internet beef anymore. The tension had leveled all the way up. Charleston was out here clowning T.I. over his paperwork party, doing his usual loudest voice in the room act. And that's when Boosie's son, Tyrell, decided he wasn't staying quiet either. It got straight up nasty. Every time Boosie catches a case or hits a rough patch, Charleston is front row, MIC in hand, grinning like he rehearsed this moment. Folks started asking why he goes so hard every single time Boosie stumbles. This ain't just internet beef, it's deeper. The whole mess blew up back in late 2022 when Kanye reignited chaos with that White Lives Matter shirt. Boosie called Ye out for disrespecting the black community, and instead of backing Boosie, Charleston hopped online and went scorched earth. That right there flipped petty into personal. Charleston didn't stop at insults. He dragged kids into it and crossed lines most wouldn't touch. He pulled Tootie Raw, even T, Sun King Harris, into the mud, clowning their looks and futures like it was a game. People were shocked, but Boosie did something unexpected. He kept his cool. In a Tony the Closer interview, he explained why snapping would be dangerous. With the system watching, one wrong move could flip everything on him legally. So he bit his tongue, stayed strategic, and let Charleston keep talking while he tried to avoid another legal nightmare. But Charleston kept escalating. When Tootie clapped back calling Charleston old Dusty and told him to disappear, Charleston snapped louder than ever. He went live and said something so cruel people stared at their phones, hoping Boosie's health would take a turn and he wouldn't get his meds for a month. Wild and heartless, all aimed at hurting a kid. Then, later that month, Tootie got arrested in a firearms situation, and Charleston showed up online the same day like he'd engineered the whole thing, bragging he'd called tips in, acted like a cop, and took credit like it was his personal win. That move changed everything. This stopped being keyboard beef and started hitting real lives. Less than 3 months later, Boosie himself got picked up in San Diego right after stepping out of court, and Charleston couldn't wait to celebrate on IG Live. He went full preacher mode, turning Boosie's arrest into a spiritual lesson, comparing him to Daniel in the lion's den and acting like it was divine justice. People were confused and offended. Was he being sarcastic or sincere? Either way, it read like he was using someone's pain as content. Boosie finally talked about it on Vlad TV, admitting he didn't want Vlad to even give Charleston a platform after what he said about his son. He made it clear this wasn't about fear. He held his composure because he had to. But Charleston wasn't just a loud troll anymore. He'd become a shadow-stalking Boosie everywhere. By early 2020, for the drama was everywhere, live streams, interviews, and even clout-chasing influencers sliding into the mess. Aiden Ross claimed Boosie turned down his stream out of respect for Charleston, a lie that spread until DJ Vlad shut it down and called the whole thing out. Charleston doubled down again in March, ranting that Boosie warned promoters not to book him and claiming he'd already tipped off the feds, all while dragging Boosie's health back into the fight to sting deeper. No receipts, just noise, but say something loud enough, and people run with it. Boosie started getting calls from guys inside the system, joking his bunk was ready. The humiliation hit hard. That psychological pressure isn't accidental. Charleston knows exactly how to weaponize shame. And that's the piece folks whisper about now. When trolling turns into targeting, and when online chaos starts flipping into real-world consequences, the line between clout and cruelty disappears. Boosie didn't even want to roll the dice with a trial. He signed that plea fast. And honestly, can you blame him? Picture Charleston White pulling up to court. You already know he'd turn that whole courtroom into a circus. Testifying, pointing fingers, live streaming from the parking lot, and dropping interviews before the ink dried. The man thrives on chaos, and court would have been his biggest stage yet. And it's not some wild guess either. Charleston has openly admitted he cooperates with law enforcement, never pretended to be street, and doesn't hide that history. Back when he was just 14, Charleston got caught in a robbery with a group of teens. One of them, Antoine Doolittle, allegedly fired a shot that led to tragedy involving Michael Levi. That case stuck to him for years, but Charleston never ran from it. In fact, he used it as a badge. He testified in court, said he told the truth, and still brags about it. In street culture, that's a no-go, and people never let him forget it. But Charleston spins it as survival, not snitching. He says he was just a kid raised to tell the truth, and he even claims it was a smart move that saved him from a bad life. But things got messy when old footage of that juvenile case resurfaced online. People drag him all over again, calling him a hypocrite. They said, "How you clown rappers for snitching when you've admitted the same thing yourself?" And sure enough, the clip shows Charleston himself saying he's been telling since he was little, with no shame. The internet ran with it, tearing him apart. But Charleston, he doubled down like always. He said he never lived by street code, never claimed to, and doesn't care who's mad. Yet the twist is, he still calls other rappers rats while standing tall in his own confession. That contradiction is what keeps people scratching their heads. Stack all that together, and it's no wonder folks think Boosie avoided trial. The last thing he wanted was to risk Charleston White showing up in court, turning the spotlight into his own personal show. Because let's be real, if Charleston even smelled a chance, he would have been suited up, pointing across the room, cracking jokes, and then hitting go live outside the courthouse bragging, "Yep, I helped put Boosie away." That's not fantasy. That's exactly Charleston's playbook. And that's why Charleston is celebrating like crazy right now. To him, this isn't just a rapper catching time. It's a personal W. It's karma. Every rant, every drag, every time he mocked Boosie or Tutti, it all built up to this. Right now, Boosie's still out, but with that plea deal hanging, 10 years is staring him in the face. And Charleston is already online clowning like he won the championship belt. The streets are split, some laughing, others holding their breath, waiting for the gavel to drop. But here's the real kicker. If Charleston's this loud while Boosie's free, imagine the noise he'll make if Boosie actually gets sentenced.